there! So today we're going to be making a wooden set. Now for anyone who watched last time, we made a cardboard set. This is more of a kind of beginner level set. It's much cheaper and easier to make. It's really great if you're just trying out animation and you just want to get started. But I'm going to try making a wooden set today. This is something I haven't done before, so anything could happen really. I'm not very good with tools, so hopefully I'll still have all 10 fingers by the end of this. Who knows? So the plan is to make a two-sided set. Now, when we made this one, we needed to make the side pieces because obviously this cardboard is quite thin. And while it's sort of sturdy-ish compared to most cardboard, it's not going to hold itself up if we just had two pieces. But because of the thickness of the wood we're going to be using, it should hold itself up on its own. So hopefully if we just do two pieces, that should work. Now, when we're thinking about the size of the set, we need to make sure that it goes beyond the realms of what we're actually going to film. You don't want a situation where you're filming and then suddenly you can see this area. So what I'm going to do is work out how big my set needs to be and then add a little bit on, if that makes sense. So I aren't too restricted in what I can film. Again, height-wise, you want to go a bit beyond the height of your characters. So you can sort of zoom out, zoom in, do whatever you want, and you're not too constrained in what you can film. So we'll see what we can do. I have got some, I'm going to call it scrap wood. It's not scrap wood really. I've got some quite big chunks. This is one of the smaller chunks. There's probably enough to make another bookcase. I made a bookcase before and I should have quite a lot left over. So while it is scrap to me, really this isn't a scrap wood project. You do need a decent chunk of wood, which I am aware is quite expensive, which is why I've given you the beginner's option of the cardboard. But we're going to see how this works today. I mean, you don't need a massive chunk of wood, but it's still a decent chunk. So I'm going to mark out what I want to do with the wood, and then I'm going to head on out into the garage. So I'm back from the garage, still in my painting gear, and got a set sort of put together. So yeah, sorry, I didn't manage to film the drilling section because my camera conveniently decided to die, which is not very kind of it, is it? But I've actually managed to drill it together. First thing I've successfully drilled together, and I didn't have to get Mr. Jones involved, which is helpful because he's not here at the moment. So yeah, that's all stuck together. But as you can see, that is standing up perfectly well on its own. No need for any additional supports, which is excellent because obviously wood's quite expensive. If you can use less, that is ideal. I actually managed to get this cut out of the smaller piece I showed you before, so I've still got a nice big chunk to do some other sets and some other nice projects with. So before we get on to actually painting the room how I want to decorate it, we're going to paint on a coat of primer before we start. This will stop any kind of wood grain or anything coming through and make it much easier and less frustrating when I come to actually paint it. So I'll get on with that now. So the primer is all dry now and our set is starting to take shape. So you could just leave it like this. You could leave it as a white room, or you could leave it as just a background to sort of shoot against that was white. That would work fine if that's what you're looking for, but I think I want something a little bit more jazzy. So we're going to paint this. Now, I'm going to use some old emulsion. As I've said before, you often just get bits of emulsion at the bottom of cans and they will just sort of sit there until the end of time if you don't do something with them, so you may as well use them up. I've got some nice pink paint, as you can see from all these drips down the can, so I'm going to use that today. So let's get ready for some painting. So we don't need too many materials here today. I've just got some cardboard so I don't also paint my desk. I've obviously got the set that we're going to be painting, a paintbrush, the paint of course, and then I've got some masking tape. Now you don't have to use this. If you are someone who's good at freehand painting, you could just paint as is. Also, if you're just painting the whole thing the same colour, you could just do freehand. But I'm going to paint the bottom half, or the floor, a different colour to this top section. So I'm going to tape it off just so we're not having to faff about and end up with wibbly lines. Then it's just time for us to get painting. Now I'm using a brush here to paint, but you could also use a paint roller, or even if you're feeling very excited, a spray paint. One layer of paint to put on. It might need another coat. We'll see what it looks like when it dries. So I will see you back here tomorrow. So I waited overnight and the paint's all set, and I think this colour looks really cute. Really nice colour. I mean, the fact that I have this leftover from painting a room in my actual house suggests it was going to be a colour I liked. But if you look up close, there is still some streaking where some of the white's coming through. So I do think we need to do another coat. So I'm going to get on with that now, and then we'll meet up again in another 24 hours, and then we can assess what we're going to do with the floor. So I let that second coat dry overnight, and it looks a lot better today. There's no streaking and it just looks lovely and matte, which is perfect. No shimmering or general light related chaos. So now I just need to get onto the floor. I mean, you could leave it white, you could have even left it wood if you wanted, but I'm going to go with a dark grey colour. I don't have any grey paint, but what I do have is black and white acrylic, so I'm going to mix them up to the right colour, and then we're going to decide. Make sure if you didn't do this, mix the right amount of colour, because if you don't mix enough and you have to mix more, it's unlikely you're going to be able to mix the same colour. Let's hope I can mix the right amount. And there we have it all painted. I have also painted this front section here just because if the camera's at a certain angle we might see this bit of wood. So another coat of paint later. I've got rid of the masking tape, and I think this looks really cute. I think it looks really modern and really sleek. I was a bit worried there was going to be a bit of bleed with the colouring on the join there, but it looks really neat, so I'm really happy about that. I am going to keep this set relatively simple. I do have an animation planned for it, and the animation itself is quite complex with quite a lot of different elements, so because of that I don't want the set to be too busy, because I just think there's going to be too much visually going on. So yeah, we're not going to do much else to this, but I do want to put in some skirting board. Now the reason apparently skirting board is used in houses is just to protect the bottom of the wall. I thought it was decorative, apparently not, but I think it will kind of give a bit of more of a finishing touch to this and make it look a bit more like a real room. So we're going to use some balsa wood for this. You could use cardboard, I guess, if you wanted, but I really do like balsa wood because it does look like actual wood. It's also super easy to work with. You can cut it up with a craft knife. You don't have to go getting out saws and things. It's also quite easy to get hold of at hardware stores and craft stores and things. You can also get it on things like eBay. So yeah, it's not really a very costly thing. Also, I didn't even plan this. This piece of balsa wood is exactly the same length as my set. I probably should have planned this out, to be honest, but I didn't, and for once it's worked out all right. So yeah, I need to cut this to size, but firstly we need to try and work out how tall the skirting board needs to be. So we're going to go on a field trip to look at some skirting board. How exciting. So I've left the skirting board to set overnight, and here we have the finished set, and I'm really happy with this. I think it looks really cool and modern and nice and simplistic. As I said, I do have an animation plan for this set and it's quite complicated, so I didn't want a lot of busyness in the background, and I think this really fits the bill. I haven't worked out exactly how I'm going to decorate this set yet. I was thinking about using the sofa that we made in the animation video last year. If I do go on to use this, I think what I'm going to do is screw it into the wooden base, which is the option that you've got with wood. With cardboard sets, what I normally just do is stick things down, which then means when you take them out you end up with a bit of a mess, but I think screwing this in will actually be quite neat, and it does mean that you can interchange whatever you've got screwed into the base. But I'm really not sure how I'm going to be setting up the shots yet, and I don't want to screw it in, then realise I don't want anything there and end up with a hole in the middle of my set. So I think I'm going to wait and see what I want to do nearer the time, but I've got some options there. Now, looking at price and things of this set, Obviously this is much more expensive than the cardboard set. Cardboard is just going free all over the place. Bezos just won't stop chucking cardboard at me. But wood is obviously something you're going to have to go out and buy. Even if it's something like I've used MDF, something relatively cheap like that is still an expense and you are still going to have to go and buy that. Also, the tools that I've used are a little bit less accessible. The cardboard you can chop up with scissors or a craft knife. Whereas with this, I've had to use a drill, I've had to use 2 different types of saw. So obviously you've got a bit more in terms of tools, materials to budget for there. But one big pro of this is the longevity of it. With a cardboard set, over time it is going to start to look a bit ratty. It is going to start looking a bit rougher around the edges. Also, if you start repainting it and stuff, it's just going to look a bit of a mess, I think. Whereas something like this is very sturdy and I think it's really going to hold up to the test of time. You have also got the option of going in and repainting this as you would with a normal wall. So should I decide to do another animation and I want a blue colour scheme, for instance, for a little boy's room or something, then I can just repaint this. So I think you've got a lot more options with this wooden set than with the cardboard one. There's nothing wrong with the cardboard one. I have used them in plenty of animations myself, but I do think this is a superior form of set if you have the tools and materials available to you. So yeah, I'm really happy with how that has turned out. So do stay tuned because that will be coming up in an upcoming animation. In the next video, we are going to be tackling puppets and we're going to be trying to make a puppet, which is very exciting. So do stay tuned for that. Let me know below if you're up to anything animation wise. It's great to hear from all you guys and I will see you all really soon. Bye.